The Galactic Empire considered Sector Hylier, 7 irrelevant. A backwater quadrant with no strategic resources, no rebellion and no risk. Its outposts ran on automated protocols, and patrol ships often skipped their rounds out of sheer boredom. The stars drifted quietly across the void, and in that silence, the Empire slept. On Outpost Zarnax Prime, boredom was standard. Officers half-read sensor reports. Drones monitored trade routes, and communications were flooded with routine check-ins from merchant vessels and colonial data bursts. There was no war here. Not anymore. Commander Reltar, one of the few veterans still serving in these distant regions, sat hunched over a dim console, sipping bitter stimtia. His face was carved by decades of conflict, and his eyes, though weary, scanned everything. He'd survived the Terran skirmishes, a brief but unforgettable chapter in the Empire's long history, one most have forgotten or dismissed as unimportant. Then something shifted, a soft chime, minor, the type technicians usually ignored. A long-range anomaly pinged the edge of the sector, a vessel entering without transponder ID, warp trace, or recognized signature. No hyperspace entry shockwave, no registration. Reltar frowned. He magnified the data. Binary pulses, radio frequencies, analog formats no modern system used anymore. It was ancient, primitive, yet structured. Looks like old Earth code, he muttered. The junior officer beside him chuckled. Humans? Please. They haven't left their dust ball in over a century. It's probably a lost mining drone. Reltar didn't answer. His fingers tapped commands into the console, adjusting the sensor arrays manually. He brought up thermal scans, hull density readings, and object trajectory. The ship was massive, over 3,000 meters long, moving at sublight speed. No energy signature. Silent, unhurried, unnatural. Run this through old war archives. Reltar ordered. The AI compliance module hesitated. Accessing restricted database. Project Terran. Records classified. Clearance required. He overrode the request with his legacy credentials. The logs flickered onto the screen. Old footage from the Terran skirmishes. Grainy recordings of human ships. Small, rugged, brutal in design. Fast, silent, deadly, and above all, unpredictable. Humanity had entered the galactic stage late. No one had expected much. Their biology was unimpressive, their tech outdated, their numbers limited, but their tactics, feral, adaptive, and irrational, had left scars the Empire had buried beneath propaganda and denial. When the war ended, it wasn't through conquest, it was through fear. A quiet pact, borders drawn, Earth isolated, humanity vanished, saying nothing, asking for nothing. But now a ship had appeared, unmarked, silent, and heading directly for Relay Station V-89, a key communication hub between the Empire's inner territories and its outer colonies. Reltar sent a system-wide ping. Unidentified vessel approaching Imperial space. Intercept immediately. 3 cruisers responded. Their captains were young, confident, bred on tales of Imperial supremacy. None of them had seen war. They laughed when they saw the ship on scans. Ugly design, one said. No grace at all. Primitive hull plating, another added. Looks like it was built in a cave. They moved to intercept, surrounding the ship's projected course. They hailed it. No answer. Again, silence. Suddenly, the ship's systems came alive. Not shields, not weapons. A simple signal. Music. A symphony played on an old Terran frequency. Beethoven, one of Earth's oldest composers. The melody drifted through space like a whisper from a forgotten era. The Empire's comms officers were confused. Some laughed. One asked, "Is this a joke?" Reltar didn't laugh. He stood. "Get those cruisers out of there." But it was too late. Without warning, the ship fired. No light, no plasma, just one projectile. A kinetic slug, launched at relativistic speed, impacted the lead cruiser. The cruiser didn't explode. It imploded. The impact folded the hull inward like foil, tearing apart molecule by molecule in a blink. The ship was gone. The others panicked. Shields activated. Plasma cannons charged. They opened fire. The unknown ship didn't move. Their shots dissipated against its hull, absorbed or ignored. It didn't retaliate. It didn't need to. Reltar stared at the telemetry data. No known material could withstand those hits. No known AI could calculate gravitational drift that precisely. No known Empire ship carried that kind of kinetic weaponry. He understood now. This was human design. Refined. Merciless. He sent a direct alert to Central Command. Terran signature confirmed. Unidentified vessel is hostile. Recommend code Black Protocol. The response came minutes later. Impossible. Humanity is dormant. Threat level minimal. He shut off the channel. By now, the remaining 2 cruisers have retreated, engines damaged, comms jammed. The strange warship resumed its course, direct, silent, undeterred. Relay Station V-89 evacuated its crew. Within 2 hours, the station went dark. No explosion. No wreckage. It simply disappeared from the network. Empire databases updated automatically. Relay station offline. Error code. Unknown interference. The ship did not change course. More signals followed. Quiet, untraceable pings across fringe sectors. One station after another began reporting malfunctions, shadowy interference, missing drones. Reltar knew what this was. Not invasion. Not war. A warning. And he remembered the words written in a forgotten transmission from Earth, archived after the truce, ignored for generations. If you ever see one of our ships again, it won't be for diplomacy. He stood alone in the dim glow of the command deck, watching the data unfold, while the Empire tried to make sense of something they'd buried long ago. His voice was low when he spoke. Why is a human warship in this sector? No one answered. The Empire dispatched 3 more cruisers the next cycle, this time equipped with higher-tier tracking systems and fusion plasma cannons. The mission was simple: intercept and detain the vessel, not destroy it yet. High Command still clung to the illusion that this was an anomaly, maybe a rogue AI, maybe pirates reverse engineering ancient Earth tech. It couldn't be what Reltar claimed. The task force engaged the outer edge of Subsector 9. They approached from multiple vectors, forming a perimeter meant to box in the ship. The officers were confident, overconfident. On paper, their ships outmatched the intruder. Imperial plasma tech dwarfed Terranera projectile weapons. Their armor was thicker, their systems more sophisticated. But when the Harbinger came into visual range, doubt crept in. It drifted, slow and steady, its matte black hull reflecting nothing. No insignias. No external weapons. Just one long, angular body with harsh lines, sharp geometry, and no sense of Imperial design. A relic, and yet terrifying. Its ID was simple: TSS Harbinger. No Imperial database recognized the prefix. One officer scoffed. Looks like something welded together from scrap. Another muttered, where are its engines? Indeed, there were none. No exhaust, no drive flares. It moved without thrust, guided by physics that didn't belong to this century. They attempted to hail the ship again. No reply, not even static. Then came the music. Again, the same ancient symphony, broadcast on a dead Terran frequency. No encryption, no distortion, just clear, deliberate sound vibrating through space, reaching every listening ship. This wasn't a glitch. It was mockery. The lead cruiser issued a final warning. They locked weapons. And then it happened. A flash of blue blinked near the Harbinger's hull. Only for a moment. No heat, no radiation. A launch, barely detectable. One projectile. The lead cruiser's shield registered the impact, then failed. The kinetic slug tore through the core like a lance through tissue, splitting the vessel into 2 halves. There was no explosion, just a soundless shatter of 1 billion tons of composite metal giving way to unstoppable force. The crew never had a chance. The remaining 2 cruisers veered away immediately. One attempted an emergency warp. The drive failed. It went dark. The last ship limped back toward the outpost, trailing hull fragments and crew distress calls. Harbinger never pursued. It simply turned, adjusted course, and resumed its trajectory, onwards, deeper into the sector. By the time High Command responded, Reltar had already issued a personal emergency classification to the Imperial Archives. Terran Tech active, directive status, unknown. They still didn't believe him. They wanted more data, more proof, a name, a threat level. He gave them one, extinction potential. Meanwhile, analysts worked around the clock to understand the vessel. Its hull resisted scans. Standard probes returned corrupted data. Its signature bent gravity in subtle but measurable ways. Communication relays near its path reported flickering systems, memory wipes, even AI disruptions. Then came something worse. A ghost signal emerged from Harbinger's path. An old Terran language packet embedded within an electromagnetic pulse. Binary embedded with linguistic tags. Ancient Earth Standard, decoded by linguistic AI within hours. The message was short. Sector compromised. Enforcement protocol engaged. Do not interfere. There was no declaration of war. No demand. Just a notification. As if Harbinger had authority over this sector. As if it were enacting policy, not engaging in battle. Empire leadership was forced to convene. Theories swirled. Was it a rogue AI from Earth's past? A weapon left behind? A test bed for forgotten tech? But no conclusion matched the data. The ship's architecture was unlike any human or Imperial model. Its hull was grown, not forged. Interior signals suggested a neural core. Not AI, not organic. Something in between. And worse, there were no life signs on board. It was unmanned, fully autonomous, which meant humans didn't need to be here for their power to be felt. It wasn't a battleship. It was a message. Deep analysis of its systems revealed layered encryption protecting something larger, an onboard data vault sealed behind quantum locks. No way to crack it remotely. No safe method to board the vessel. Imperial infiltration drones sent toward it disintegrated before reaching hull contact. One drone sent a final image. Strange glyphs carved along the ship's edge. Terran symbols. Not written in any modern dialect. Not meant to be read. Meant to be seen. One character repeated over and over again. A warning rune. Old Earth military code for Enforcer. Reltar finally spoke before the council, summoned from his distant post. He didn't use diagrams. He didn't make a case. He simply asked, "Do you know what scares humans enough to leave behind something like this?" Silence. They don't build weapons to win wars. They build them so no one dares to start one. The council still hesitated. Even now, they wanted to interpret Harbinger as isolated, containable. They spoke of deploying dreadnoughts, coordinating assault fleets, bringing in contractors. They wanted control, but the warship didn't wait. Over the next solar cycle, 3 relay stations and 2 minor colonies in its path went silent. No destruction, no distress calls, just silence. System logs wiped clean. AI modules frozen mid-process. And still, the ship didn't deviate. It followed an invisible path, not reacting to attacks, not answering challenges. It wasn't evading. It was asserting. Every region it crossed became unreachable. Communications jammed. Surveillance blinded. Harbinger bent reality like a shadow, never loud, never fast, just present. Then came the civilian broadcasts. A mining colony orbiting a gas giant caught a glimpse of it in the upper stratosphere. Their sensors weren't military grade, yet they recorded everything. One miner's log went viral across internal channels. It just hovered there, didn't fire, didn't speak. It looked at us, then vanished, like we didn't matter. Reltar understood then. Harbinger wasn't targeting military installations. It was retracing something, a patrol route, a perimeter, not just attacking, surveying. Something had awakened it, and something was about to happen. He whispered to himself in the quiet of the darkened briefing chamber. It's not here to fight. Pause. It's here to remind us that we forgot. High Command declared a sector-wide lockdown. Civilian vessels were grounded, trade routes suspended, Surveillance drones flooded Hylier 7's borders. The Empire's most advanced warships were summoned from the inner systems, and entire fleets were repositioned silently, without alerting the public. Officially, there was no threat. Unofficially, the Empire was afraid. The Harbinger had now crossed 4 sectors, leaving no visible destruction but rendering every zone it passed through non-functional. Communications blacked out, power systems reset, station AIs rebooted into fail-safe modes. Entire colonies were left running on manual operations, disconnected from the galactic grid, but no bodies, no debris, no trace of violence, only silence. Strategists combed through ancient Terran records, searching for answers. What kind of warship doesn't attack unless threatened? Why would it avoid vital infrastructure but erase data? Why did it move so predictably? One answer surfaced: deterrence, a relic from Earth's forgotten arsenal. Something built not to conquer, but to prevent conflict. It didn't destroy cities. It dismantled command. It didn't seek glory. It ensured submission through precision and terror, and it was getting closer to the midline. The midline was a symbolic border, unspoken, unwritten, drawn after the Terran skirmishes. On one side, the Empire. On the other, silence. Earth and its neighboring stars have been abandoned for over a century, untouched by galactic politics. Harbinger had crossed that line days ago. Now it was heading toward a black zone, a classified region on Imperial star maps marked as inert. No one questioned it. No one explored it. The stars there had no names, only numbers. But for those with clearance, one name lingered in forgotten files. Site Zero, a system the Empire had scrubbed from history. A century ago, the Empire had sent a research fleet to Earth's former colonies, probing for residual tech, hidden weapons, perhaps a cache of human data. What they found terrified them. Site Zero was abandoned, yet not dead. Artificial structures orbited a dead star, still humming with power. Surveillance systems reacted before Imperial probes entered orbit. Entire ships vanished. One dreadnought made it out. Its captain was never the same. He said only one sentence during debriefing: "We weren't supposed to be there." The Empire covered it up, deployed satellites to scramble navigation, erased the system from public star charts. It became a myth. Until now, Harbinger was heading directly for it. Reltar reviewed old mission logs, including the fragmented footage retrieved from the lost fleet. There were no life signs in that system, no transmissions, no signals of known design. But there was architecture, structures arranged in orbital patterns resembling Terran defense formations. One shot showed something even stranger: a hollow moon, entirely metallic, marked with the same glyph seen on Harbinger's hull. Not human, not alien, something in between. Reltar requested direct access to the relic chamber on Prime Archive Station, a vault of pre-Empire artifacts collected during early expansion years. Few even remembered it existed. There, among shattered probes and black box fragments, he found a small capsule, non-functional, ancient, covered in the same rune pattern. Inside, a data core fused with organic tissue, impossible by modern standards. It held no readable data, only a pulsing rhythm, a beat, a pattern, identical to Harbinger's signal pulse. It wasn't just a ship, it was part of the system, built by someone or something that transcended Earth's final years. The implication was terrifying. Humanity hadn't disappeared. They had evolved past the need for presence. Somewhere, they had constructed a network of dormant sentinels, waiting for specific triggers. Maybe invasion, maybe interference, maybe just curiosity. And the Empire had crossed a line. Reltar sent one final message to High Command: "This is not a weapon left behind. This is a key, and it's unlocking something." At that moment, all relays tracking the Harbinger went dark. Not destroyed, not jammed, blinded. The ship had reached Site Zero. No ships followed. No drones returned. The entire system turned silent, an absence of noise more terrifying than violence. 3 days later, a single signal emerged, a single word: observed. It came not from the Harbinger, but from an unknown source in Site Zero. The origin could not be traced. The language was ancient Terran, overlaid with a modulation no imperial system could decrypt fully. The word repeated. Observed. Reltar sat in silence. He knew what it meant. It wasn't just that the Empire had been seen. It was that they were now being judged. A reminder that in the grand scale of power, humanity had not faded. They had simply withdrawn. And now they were watching. Not angry. Not vengeful. Just aware. And for the Empire, that was worse. Because it meant they were no longer alone at the top. Their history had a shadow. And that shadow had just stirred. Back on the homeworld, Imperial media remained silent. Officials downplayed the disturbances as natural anomalies. Trade resumed. Civilian unrest was carefully contained. But in the command halls, in the encrypted corridors of military intelligence, a new doctrine emerged. Do not provoke the unknown. Plans to approach Site Zero were shelved indefinitely. Expeditions canceled. Funds reallocated to silent observation programs. And Reltar, once forgotten, now feared, was reassigned command a covert listening post orbiting the midline. His only directive: watch, report, never engage. He stared into the black beyond the stars, not with fear, but with certainty. Harbinger was not the end. It was a herald, and something had just turned its gaze back toward the galaxy, not to conquer, but to remind them that humanity was still out there, and they had not forgotten. A cycle passed. Then, too, no further transmissions came from Site Zero. The Harbinger vanished from every scope and satellite grid, not destroyed, not hidden, gone, as if it had never existed. Across the Empire, the silence grew louder than any war drum. In military command circles, debates spiraled. Some demanded retaliation. Others insisted it was a ghost protocol, a malfunctioning AI acting on corrupted objectives. But no explanation could justify the results. 37 disabled outposts for disarmed cruisers, and a full sector stripped of Empire presence without a single casualty. Because Harbinger hadn't come to kill. It had come to show restraint backed by unstoppable force. And that terrified the Empire more than any war ever had. Reltar, now head of deep perimeter observation, watched the stars in silence. The station he commanded was unremarkable, floating just outside midline territory. Small, shielded, barely manned. But its purpose was singular: to monitor the dark side of human space. No one wanted to admit it, but everyone knew. Harbinger was not the only one. It couldn't be. If humanity had built one ship capable of slipping through galactic surveillance, destroying cruisers with kinetic slugs, and rewriting data cores with electromagnetic pulses, then they could have built dozens, hundreds. But the silence from Earth continued. No messages, no ambassadors, no evidence of expansion, just a distant, ever-watching void. Some believed Earth had fallen. Others thought it had ascended. Either way, the question had changed. No longer where the humans, but what have they become? And more pressingly, what are they preparing for? Reltar read the latest report. A remote colony, Rydax 4, had detected an energy anomaly. Not hostile, not Terran, but strange. A gravitational fluctuation mimicking solar drift, but moving, controlled. It vanished before a scout ship could get close. A familiar pattern. The Empire's arrogance began to fracture. They stopped expanding. Colonization slowed. Defensive platforms once mothballed were rebuilt. The tone shifted from dominance to vigilance. And in this quiet fear, rumors spread. Stories told in quiet corners of freighter lounges and forgotten orbital platforms. A miner claimed his ship had passed through a dead zone and seen a fleet. 10 ships, all like the Harbinger, drifting in formation, powered down, motionless. A trader swore he intercepted an old Earth signal embedded in a solar flare, one transmitting coordinates with no known planetary system attached. A pirate vessel returned from a raid, their NAVAI wiped clean. They had scars along their hull. Too precise for battle, too symmetrical for nature. Their crew refused to speak. Most of these reports were dismissed, but Reltar logged them all. He began to notice something chilling. Every signal, Every encounter, every anomaly, they all happened near the edges of Empire expansion, never deep in the core, never in plain sight, as if mapped intentionally, as if the galaxy was being measured from the shadows. One message, sent from a scout drone in uncharted space, stood out above the rest. It lasted 3 seconds before its feed went dark. 3 seconds of footage. A massive structure, black and ring-shaped, floating in a binary star system. It resembled no known station. Its surface shimmered with symbols. Around it, debris, ancient ships, tore apart with surgical precision. The structure pulsed once. The drone disappeared. Its backup relay stored only one frame, a close-up of a symbol carved into the ring. It matched the glyph on Harbinger's hull. Different ship, same origin. Reltar presented the footage to the Emperor's High Council. Their faces, proud and cold for so long, paled, because there was no doubt now. Humanity had seeded the stars with sentinels. Silent, patient, waiting. But for what? A final message was intercepted soon after, caught by a deep-range array designed to skim black hole radiation. It was hidden inside gravitational noise, encoded beyond military standards. Once decrypted, it said, "We left because we had to. We stayed silent because you weren't ready. But we never stopped watching. No threat, no demands, just observation." Reltar understood something the rest of the Empire refused to say aloud. The Harbinger was a scout, not the first, not the last, and not for the Empire, but for something else, something approaching, something even humans feared, because no species creates weapons of that magnitude unless they expect something worse. The Terran skirmishes weren't a war. They were a distraction. While the Empire played conqueror, humanity vanished into the unknown, building, hiding, preparing. Now their guardians stirred, not to attack, but to patrol, to keep the old border sacred, to maintain the illusion of peace. Because beyond those borders was something neither human nor imperial, something waking. And perhaps Harbinger wasn't a message for the Empire, but a test. Would the Empire react with violence? Would it chase? Would it learn? The Empire had failed once before. This time it hesitated, and that hesitation, Reltar believed, saved them. For now, he stood at the edge of the observation deck, staring into the void where the Harbinger had vanished. He no longer saw stars. He saw sentries, signals, shadows, not ghosts of fallen species, but echoes of a civilization that had moved on, above them, beyond them, watching, waiting, guarding. And in the cold, quiet dark of space, one terrifying truth remained. Humanity had not disappeared. They had simply gone where the Empire could not follow. And whatever was coming, they would meet it first.